Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be going over how to do different styles of builds, and kind of an overall of what you should do, and maybe what you shouldn't do. I'm going to go over a little bit of interior, a little bit of roof design, and just a little bit of like a general how I like to build and like good tips for building. In other videos I'm going to try to go over like my build process and like little bits of building, like lighting, or maybe roofs, or maybe even like floor designs or stuff like that. As you see, the first thing we are standing on here is a road. I put this together pretty quickly. It's a pretty standard road design, like gray concrete, honey blocks with glowstone underneath, then like sides of andesite, slabs, stone slabs of polished andesite. Then here's a quick little lamppost design I threw together. It's not like the most fancy design in the world, but it was pretty quick. Anyways, my process of building begins with I start thinking, what do I want to make? And where do I want to make it? The where part mostly pertains to like survival, because you're like scouring the world looking for something or somewhere that just sparks an interest. For the what, I start thinking like, what style do I like? Do I want something that's like a rustic style, or maybe a modern style, or medieval? And then once you get that, you can get the block palette, like what blocks you're going to use in it. Like, are you going to use stones? Are you going to use woods? Like, what are you going to do? And then the general shape is just like, do I want it a square, a circle, and a whole bunch more shapes are possible. But I'm going to show you some of the designs I've come up with, kind of going along with the what I want to make. So this is like a nice little rustic house I made. It's got the typical woods. I use like stripped oak logs as like pillars, and spruce wood as like the backdrop. And you can always add little details like lanterns to give your build some like nice brightness. There's like oak doors facing this way, which adds a bit more depth. And I've got a little garden out back with a water trough, which has some sea pickles in it for lighting. I also have a little flower pot and some little hay bales back here. I'll leave these little details with like the coarse dirt, gravel, path blocks. They all add like a little bit more to your builds. And I think that's a very important part of building. You can also add like interiors. This is a quick like little squashed interior I made. This little crafting bench, ender chest. We got a bed, a jukebox, and a large chest for like storage. And behind these I put glowstone, because lighting goes through trapdoors and stairs, and also slabs. I also did the thing with the roof, which is where I use two different types of wood. I use oak and I use birch to kind of like line the roof. Also, always make sure that you never leave your roofs looking like this. Just takes like 5 seconds to just add a few more stairs. And to the next build, I went with like a modern style. Modern is one of the harder ones, even though it seems so simplistic. Typically you'll find there's white concrete, cyan terracotta, gray concrete, and occasionally smooth stone slabs. Birch seems to be a popular wood for this choice because it's a very light choice. Now with this interior there wasn't really a lot I could do. Using end rods for lighting, always good in a modern build. I made a little stovetop here, and I put some redstone torches underneath these so that the trapdoors would stay closed like that. You can always make a little like oven top hood out of some iron trapdoors and like stairs or hanging blocks. I made like a little terrace out here because adding greenery is like one of the best ways to add life to your builds. Get a little flower thing. The cool thing with the dark oak saplings is they never grow, so they're always a safe option to use as like a mini tree, like a bonsai tree or something. Here again I have a little water trough. And around the house I have like greenery, which seems to grow up the sides of the build. Although this doesn't really seem accurate for like a modern house being overrun by vines, it kind of looks nice. So use some quartz stairs to make this nice pattern. Like this. And it adds a bit more depth to the sides of these modern builds. Because modern houses don't tend to have a lot of detail. And that's a quick, easy way to add some. You can also use like gray carpet to spawn-proof any types of weird gray lines you have. But for modern builds, it's mostly like create some sort of L shape and then move in a block and have like some white concrete or like a brighter color. Next we're going to move on to like a medieval type castle. I didn't really want to build an entire castle, so I just built like a tower. And typically with medieval builds you'll see a lot of stones, but luckily Minecraft has a ton of stones. It's got andesite, polished andesite, stone bricks, normal stone. It's got like tons and tons of stones. It's got gravel, cobblestone, and different ores. And here you can see I use the path blocks, cobblestone, and gravel to kind of make this little tattered pathway, which looks like it's been stepped on and walked on frequently. The interior of this place isn't like the fanciest because there's not much space in here, but what you can do is you can have like stairs facing this way and then hang a lantern underneath. And you can also use trapdoors to create a little ladder to go all the way up. And it's really cool. Another thing that like castle type builds lack, I find most often, is something to contrast the stone colors. So like as you see, I've got like light gray stained panes, but I've also got like trapdoors and stripped dark oak to kind of complement the stone colors with a more woody color. Another thing that was recently added in 1.14 was lanterns. These work really well with building. You can also take advantage of andesite walls and stone brick walls to add more vertical pillars or just like hanging things. Chains are also really nice because they go really well with lanterns. Okay, now the next build over here is kind of like the outside. I didn't really decorate much because you've already seen lots of outside decorations. But this one really shows off like different styles. This is kind of like a Viking style roof. It's got the V shape. And these look really cool and they're not too hard to make. You kind of do this pattern, which is go over one and up two, over one, up two. And then you can kind of create this really cool V shape to your roofs, which is very reminiscent of like Vikings, also from the medieval era. And a nice way to like make sure you don't have large flat walls is to like try to break up things by just adding pillars or adding stairs to kind of look like it has support. And bone blocks are really nice for walls because even though this is a flat wall, it doesn't look too much like it's plain and empty. If this was made of white concrete, it'd seem more empty, but these have these nice little lines and really nice texture to them. Again, I'm using the light gray panes because, in my opinion, stained glass looks a bit better than normal glass. I use some dark oak and spruce. And you can see there's actually two types of stripped logs here. We've got stripped dark oak and we've got stripped spruce. This, I've established, like, the stripped spruce is used for this roof, but the dark oak is actually used for the supports on the side of the house. And the spruce is like an outline. And the cool thing you can always do with your roofs is add a little bit that pokes out like this. You see, if I just left this flat, it would look like a really long house. But when I added this, that makes this entrance seem justified, and it also adds this really cool feature to the house. And I think that's always a really important thing to try and do. Adding more shapes to your builds is always very useful. This one I did a bit more interior. So ferns in flower pots always look really nice, especially if you can like hang them from the ceiling. It looks like those little hanging plants. And flower pots, you don't actually need like a block for it to sit on. So I could just break this and it's floating. Scaffolding is always a really nice block for interiors because one, you don't immediately collide into it, and two, it just looks like a table. Trapdoors are good for small interiors because you can make walls like this, which don't take up a full block of space, but still make this seem like its own little space. Like this is like a little place under the stairs. You can add storage with barrels. Barrels are like really cool for this type of build. You can just have a pile of barrels here, you're like, oh, decoration, but it's also functional. What you can also do with like windows like this is you can have a bed right out here. And it kind of lines up with the window, and it just seems like something that would happen naturally. What you can also do with interiors is hang little light fixtures from the ceiling. And lanterns are really good for that. Lanterns and end rods both look really nice hanging from ceilings. This is a little desk I made. You can use trapdoors for like sides of the desks, and stairs facing this way. And as you can see, I used a different type of wood for this stair because this is supposed to be the chair for the desk, but it's been kind of pushed out after someone has used it. Adding little details like a chair being pushed out or like something out of place is always really useful. You can also put stuff like item frames on tables to make it seem like either there's a plate or you're doing something here. Like let's say I put a feather, and it kind of seems like I've got a pen on the desk. Item frames, flower pots, scaffolding, trapdoors, those are all really good things you can use for interiors. And that, I think, is gonna do it for me today, everybody. I showed you some different types of builds. I felt it sparked some sort of interest or inspiration for your own builds. And maybe even if you don't get inspired to build something, maybe you might like one of these and you might decide you want to put something like that in your own world. That's perfectly fine. Building is all about learning and trying new things. So, that'll do it for me today. I hope you guys had a good day. Goodbye!